Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Married to Medicine review. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button now because you might not like what I have to say later because we got some stuff to talk about. I'm going to begin by saying before we get to the end that I think that King was wrong. I think that King had every right to stand up for his woman. I don't like the opportunity that he took to address it because he should have addressed it when he first found out what he found out. But we'll get to it. So let's go ahead and just jump into this thing so we could get this thing going. So it's the morning after Quad and Dr. G showed their tails. Cecil and Simone are joking about how he has his shirt open like King, you got Chet feeding his little boo thing, Miss Phaedra, strawberries, and you got King and Quad talking about the previous night. Now, apparently, Quad, I like her, but she has amnesia. And she can't figure out what made Dr. G so upset about the night before. Well, Quad, I like you, but let's not act like you don't understand that you saying that you had sex with this man 15 times, that you saying that you want to have this man's babies would not get under his skin, considering how much he wanted you to have his children. You were giving little digs while you were sitting in front of Dr. G. Now, King points out that he feels like the issue really came up when they started talking about sex. I do agree, but I think that Quad shouldn't have ever really addressed G. I think that the problem really got to the max when she decided that she was going to turn around and say something to him. I do not think that those two individuals should ever talk to one another. They aren't in a space where they can, because Dr. G was okay with talking to her last season when she didn't have a man, but he's struggling this season, and Quad is being triggered left and right by being in his presence, because whether or not she wants to admit it, I think that Quad is still upset, as I said before, that these ladies were okay with the man who allegedly had abused her to come back on this show. So Quad points out that everybody's sitting here worried about what G's feeling. Meanwhile, her feelings weren't considered when they decided to bring Sweet Tea and her ex around. I gotta agree. So she's like, at this point, she's gonna do whatever she wants to do and she's gonna say whatever she wants to say because she doesn't feel like she should have to hold her tongue because they decided to come around. I'm going to have to agree. And some of you may disagree with me, but Dr. G left the show at some point. You haven't been around this whole entire time, but now that you're getting married, you want to come back to the show. And whether or not the ladies of the cast or the producers reached out to him, he knew that this was a group that Quad had been hanging around at various points. He knew that Quad more than likely would be on the show or would be talked about on the show. So don't get so upset when you put yourself into this type of situation, right? My opinion. So she says that she doesn't feel like G is over her and that she feels like Sweet Tea is a seat filler. I think that the issue here is the both of them, and neither one of them are addressing it in a healthy manner. I do think that Dr. G is bothered by Quad, but I don't understand the extent of it. I think that Dr. G was trying to throw Quad under the bus during certain moments, especially when he was talking to Sweet Tea, to make it appear as if Quad is this problematic person all the time and he's not negative and all these other things. But the both of them are problematic. It's not just her. So King points out that it sounds like trauma to him, and you can't tell someone when to get over their trauma. I do agree you can't tell them when to get over it, but I do think that at this point, they should be able to find ways to navigate through it, which makes me feel like Quad needs to do some additional work because she's still easily triggered by Dr. G. Quad says, based on the way that he was acting and how he was yelling at Sweet Tea, she doesn't feel like he's changed. It reminded her of how he used to be. And it reminded me of how the both of them used to be, because the both of them were in an unhealthy situation. You got Dr. G, right? In Dr. G's room, him and his wife, Sweet Tea, they're talking. He's saying again that he did not come there for any negativity, that he doesn't like fussing, and he apologizes to his wife for losing control. But when she chimed in, he's talking about Quad, saying like things that they should be doing. It bothered him. Dr. G keeps talking about negativity as it relates to Quad, like he doesn't have negative moments himself. Like Sweet Tea didn't sit there and confess to Heavenly that you pulled some of the same mess that you pulled on Quad, where you tricked her and you lied about something to teach Sweet Tea a lesson. We're not going to act like you don't still have some questionable ways. He said when he is like this, he gets upset. But I personally feel like he isn't in control. And when he isn't in control, that's when he gets angry, or that's when he gets to the point where he plays games. He then tries to twist the story, telling Tisha that he did all of this. He was fussing and trying to get her to stop because what he was really trying to do was to protect her. Protect her from what? Him? What were you trying to protect this girl from? I'm trying to figure that out. Because I feel like at some point, Sweet Tea may need protection from him. The allegations are out there, and I hope I'm wrong, but we've seen various forms of abuse from this man between him and Quad. We saw the financial, we saw the emotional. Now, did we see the physical? No, but there were allegations of it. So with that being said, don't sit here and try to act like you're this changed person when I think you're just this tea kettle just waiting to explode. I don't think that Sweet Tea can't hold her own. I think that she isn't a child, but he treats her like she's a child. And if he was truly trying to protect her, then you wouldn't have had her come on this show to begin with. But you were so busy trying to get under your ex-wife's skin, Dr. G, that you decided that this was the route that you should take. This is a bunch of adults acting like children, running their mouths all over the place. And it doesn't make any sense. Because why would you sit there and why would you want that? Why would you want to have that situation where it's a bunch of kids just sitting there talking about each other? Man, I forgot to add this slide. All right. So you got Dr. Eugene, Dr. Mimi, Steve, and Toya, and they meet up and head over to a restaurant, right, for drinks, right? They order the drinks, and Toya says, don't give me certain forms of alcohol because the different additives in it, they make me angry. So Steve and Mimi are like, okay, so what were you drinking last night? Was that you being angry last night? And then she's like, no. They're like, oh, because you kind of contributed to the mess, so we thought maybe it was that. And she was like, I didn't contribute to the mess. I just asked the question. You know, I didn't like the fire. Maybe I think she said she just burned a candle or something like that. I personally think that a lot of people are trying to blame Toya. I think that Toya, like Heavenly, is very good at creating mess, is very good at moving storylines along. But these adults decide whether or not they're going to take the bait. So we're back at the resort, right? And we got Heavenly, and we got Dr. Simone, and we got Dr. Jackie, and they are talking. Heavenly feels like what happened last night was funny. This, Heavenly, that statement ain't right. Nothing about that was funny. Simone feels like the games were good, that she did good as far as that went, but it did get, kind of messy and that it wasn't funny. I feel like if the roles were reversed and that had happened to Heavenly, Heavenly would not think it's funny, especially since she's the same person who has come to the internet in recent weeks saying that the scene that they showed us with Quad and Dr. G and Sweet Tea was far worse than what was shown, that he was very much more disrespectful and loud than what they showed. And you said that a lot of what he said to his wife was cut out. So why would you think that that's funny? Simone says it's clear that both Quad and Dr. G need to do some healing. I agree. They really got a lot of work to do. Heavenly then tells Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone that she has a secret. She's like, Apollo's coming. Dr. Jackie looks at Heavenly like she's crazy. Both her and Dr. Simone think that it's a bad idea. So she's like, I hear you, but I spoke to Phaedra and Phaedra knows. Here's my question, you guys. She's over here talking about she spoke to Phaedra and Phaedra knows, but do we really believe that Phaedra was completely okay with it? Because she kind of wasn't. And I want to know who on production thought that this would be a good idea. I understand that they are presenting this like this was Heavenly's idea, but I do not feel like it was Heavenly's idea. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they might have asked Heavenly to do it, and Heavenly was like, oh, you want me to move the ball? You want me to create the mess? Okay, I got you, because that's what I do. I don't mind producing. I produce all the time. I produce by getting Sweet Tea to come up here with her husband, and now I'll produce some more. Long as you're talking about everybody else and you're not talking about me, okay. So Phaedra says she agreed to him coming because she thought it was just him. But I think that Phaedra should have told her that she didn't want him to come. I think that she should have asked Heavenly if she would think about rescinding the offer. So Heavenly thinks that Quad and when they interact, that's laughable. And I think it also is clear that Heavenly wasn't really listening, because they may be cordial, but their situation isn't ideal either, and it shows. So it's time to go on the boat. Everybody loads up in the cars. I don't know why so many people were in the one vehicle when it was just Quad and King by themselves. So everybody gets on a boat. It's not a yacht like it was last time. This is just the boat that's going to take them to the Sandbar, right? So they start drinking, taking shots. Heavenly steps off the boat so she can FaceTime Apollo. Heavenly's like, where you at? He says, we're on the way. This is when Heavenly realizes, wait a second, he said we, meaning he bought his wife Shireen. He previously said he wasn't bringing her. So as they're sitting there, as they're getting ready, as everybody is getting excited because here you are and you're about to go ahead and you're going to go to the next stop and this is about to be cool, you hear Quad screaming, Apollo! 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 Come on through! Yeah, come on through! Come on through! Everybody is looking, trying to figure out who invited Apollo and Shireen. Who invited him and his wife? Phaedra is acting like Heavenly doesn't know, like Heavenly didn't tell her, but you know that Apollo was coming. You may not have known about the wife, but you knew about him. Might I add, I never thought that Apollo was attractive, but Apollo looks attractive with glasses. I can't say the same about his wife, though. She messed herself up with the work that she did to her body. Should have left it alone, or she should have consulted Phaedra's doctor. I don't know. I'm just saying. So, meanwhile, oh, that's alleged, because I don't know if Phaedra's really had work done on her body. I know women fill out differently as they get older, so let me make sure I put that in there, all right? So Everybody is shocked, right? We then get flashbacks that remind us that Shireen was Apollo's mistress. I said, why in this moment are you guys making me side with all the people that I don't like? Because now I'm siding with Phaedra because this was a violation on so many levels. I don't care for Phaedra because of what she did to Candy, because of how she handled that situation with her. But right is right and wrong is wrong. Phaedra lets us know that these two people were sleeping together while she was still married to Apollo and she was pregnant with their second child. And that's when I knew how messy this whole situation was, because I understand why Phaedra has no desire to speak to Shireen, because Shireen was the mistress. And even though they probably had other things going on, you helped aid in her hurt, right? So we get flashbacks of Shireen on Real Housewives of Atlanta basically bragging about the fact that she was, stepping in where Phaedra wasn't. And we see that at the last reunion 5 months ago, Phaedra said, I don't speak to that lady, meaning they don't have any interactions. So in confessional, Phaedra's like, them being here is weird, it's creepy, and it's very unsettling. And she calls her a big back linebacker. I laughed. Maybe be wrong of me, but I laugh. But y'all ladies got to stop getting this work done thinking it looks right. This is a flattering picture of her. But y'all get these tummy tucks and the stuff don't look right in certain areas. Not y'all like y'all, but I'm just saying like some of these famous people. And they just ends up messing their bodies up because they didn't do it the right way and they didn't have the right BMI. There's a reason why they want you to be to a certain weight. My godmother got her body done and my godmother looks really good. And I feel like it's because she lost the weight and did what she was supposed to do before she got her tummy tuck. But these people go to these doctors who will do the work on them even though they know that they haven't done the work, right? So Tisha's like, oh great, another scorned ex-husband, not ex-husband, she said another scorned ex added to the mix. We then realize that Chet not only knows Apollo, but he knows Apollo's wife too, because she's squealing in excitement and she's just so surprised to see him. And there's something about the way that she hugs him and she wraps her arms around that tall man's neck as he bends down to hug her that seems a little inappropriate to me. Y'all tell me what you feel like. Maybe it's just me because I have a large chest and I've always been taught to push away from people, especially males, and to do the one arm hug. Meanwhile, she's doing the, oh, I'm gonna put both of my arms around you and pull you in type of hug, because apparently they're very close. He spent a lot of time with their family. So everyone can't believe that Apollo knows Chet. Like even Curtis and Jackie are like, what is going on? What is going on this boat? Curtis says, we need nets on the boat. I think it was Curtis. Yeah. So they toast, there's drinking, there's dancing, there's picture taking. Despite everything that's going on, the vibes on the boat seem good. Eugene jokes about, there being stowaways. Then Czech does a toast to having sex 15 times a week. Apollo's sitting across from Quad, and in my opinion, he's lying to Quad, saying that Chet told Phaedra that he didn't even know Apollo. That makes no sense, because why would y'all have that conversation? Especially because we already saw Chet told Phaedra that he knew you. We saw it a couple weeks ago when they were on their date. Now, he may not have said the extent that he knows you, as Phaedra later says, because she didn't realize that you hung out with the man, but he told her. So then they flash back to 30 minutes earlier where they dap each other up and say, how are you doing? Given that they know each other. Apollo is bothered, right? He's sitting right next to Shireen as he's sitting there talking to Quad, complaining about how it's messed up that, Chet and him are together, every week. And now he's sitting here hanging with his ex-wife. And you're saying that's bull. Sir, why do you care? Seriously, Why do you care? You're talking about your ex-wife while sitting next to your soon-to-be ex-wife because you're about to be done, as you're complaining about what she's doing when it's truly none of your business. So Quad tells us, oh, okay, so she basically brought on his friend on the trip knowing that Apollo was going to be there. And if she did, more power to her. I don't blame her. She has been divorced from this man for 7 years. This man is currently sitting there with the woman that he cheated on her with the woman that helped break up their marriage. There are no rules as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to tell y'all, like, I know because I've experienced this. When men like this move on, they don't want you to move on. They can dish it, but they can't take it. So if it was intentional or not, I don't care. Phaedra doesn't owe that man anything. Like nothing whatsoever. The moment that he decided to cheat on her and then to add on it that they got divorced, all bets were off. I don't understand why these guys feel like they have claims on these women, right? I said, had she not have done that, then she would have been on the boat by herself with all these couples. So it's a good thing that she did decide to bring somebody. So Shireen and Apollo are talking about it, and she's adding like they told her, Shireen, you didn't tell her anything because you don't talk to her. She don't like you. It's very clear that you guys don't talk to each other because you didn't even say hello when you got on the boat. Contessa was like, you know our friend Phaedra, and she's like, yeah, I know Phaedra. So don't sit here and act like you guys converse from time to time. How did you tell that lady anything if you don't talk to that lady? So Heavenly is sitting there explaining to Apollo, I didn't know that was your friend. I didn't know, that situation. And Heavenly, I don't even understand why you're giving a disclaimer or you're sounding like this is an apology, because nobody owes this man anything. Why are we doing this? Like, why are we acting like somebody owes him something? So they start talking about how unpredictable this trip has been. Everybody on the boat. Phaedra's like, look, I just thought that it was a situation where, they were cool with each other and they were going to the club. I didn't realize that they hung out with each other. I didn't know that they were that close. So King is walking around and he's passing out shots, and we find out through Scott that him and T did a shot together because they have no issues with each other. The vibes are good. Even Jackie says it's good. So they arrive at the only Sandbar in America with 8 black physicians on it, a lawyer, and the spouses. I said, okay, Simone, we got it. I'm not acting like it's a big deal, but there's this way sometimes where they speak down to the others. You could have just left it at the 8 black physicians. That was a flex on its own. You didn't have to say the other stuff, like, and their spouses. Well, what do their spouses do? Because it all matters. Just my opinion. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. So there's a ladder on the boat. Simone jumps off to lead the way. The captain tells them they could go down the ladder. It's easier. We see Toya jump off, and she lands on her butt. She blames it on the vodka. So the ladies are in the water. They're lounging. Even though Steve was on the boat, he waits till they get at the Sandbar to introduce himself to Apollo and asks how he knows everybody. He starts talking about, some of the people that he knows, and he leaves out the fact that he was married to Phaedra. So the guys are chopping it up. Steve says that he played for Cleveland, Arizona, and Detroit. Then the next thing you know, the guys want to work out. Eugene is the only smart person that says, I'm not about to do this pissing contest with you all. Cecil and them sit down too, but it's just to see them doing all of this. So he's like, I don't understand why these men can't just sit here, enjoy the good conversation and a cigar and maybe the view. Greg starts doing push-ups. And he is always so cringy as he starts saying, Letitia, 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 every time he does a push-up. It's lame. Eugene tells us that this dude is going crazy. Steve said, good for him. He did a good job, but he made it weird. The guys are laughing while looking at the view. And Eugene does a cheers, right? He thanks King for coming in on a positive note. King's like, thank you for welcoming me, right? Okay. So far, so good. You being positive. You're saying thank you for welcoming me. I can dig it. I can get with it. It's okay. It's making sense. It's not too bad, right? So Dr. G says, look, I ain't mean any disrespect to you, but I didn't really welcome you because, it's awkward for me. I can't do Dr. G's voice. I wish I knew how to imitate him. Color Me Pink does a great job imitating people. I haven't mastered that. Anyway, so to me, it should not be this bothersome to him to see quiet with someone else. Gee, why are you sitting here like not talking to him because it's been awkward for you? It shouldn't be awkward for you. You shouldn't be concerned. But I think you showing that you're so bothered to Quad kind of makes her want to like rub it in your face more. So he was fine when he's able to rub his beautiful wife in Quad's face, but now that Quad has brought someone else, he can't take it. So he says, I didn't really mean any disrespect towards her. We have a history, and she was speaking over my new marriage, and it bothered me. I'll admit I didn't handle it in the best way. So King's like, that's understandable. You guys have a past. We can't change it. In my opinion, it should have been left there. Nothing else about the matter should have been said. You said what you said. That was that. You could have left it there. You could have kept going on your way. I don't know if Dr. G wanted to rile up King or if Dr. G is really this oblivious to the situation, that he doesn't know how to read the room, that he's this dumb, that he really doesn't understand the way that he treats women is inappropriate. But he really says some dumb stuff out of his mouth. So G decides to tell King that he told Quad that she talks too effing much. I put on the captions intentionally, yes, to make sure y'all see too ... in much. That's what he said. So Eugene in the confessional is me. Because Eugene is like, why would he say that? Oh, sugar honey, here we go. All the men, right, are sitting there and they're watching because they know that this is about to turn. They can feel that it's about to turn because King's body kind of switches up a little bit as he's saying this, right? Even Scott says like, y'all need to just, y'all need to just let the sun set on it, leave it right there and let the sun set on it. You don't want to do that. Let the sun set on it. And King is looking like, he said that happened last night. King says, oh, I didn't hear that last night. Cecil in his confessional's like, okay, so it's not just one person with a big mouth last night. Now we see it's two of them. That G has a big mouth too. I agree. King says, I'm offended by that, and I think you need to apologize to her for that. I don't disagree. I think he should apologize, but I think that Quad needs to apologize too because she took it too far in saying some of the stuff that she was saying. I think that they just don't need to interact with each other. Dr. G says it's, the responsibility falls on both parties. King says, I don't think so, but I got to agree with Dr. G there. Eugene can feel this energy, so he's like, if I can interject here, I think that the problem is I think where the key here is. He looks over to Curtis and he's like, what am I saying? Where am I trying to go? So Cecil says, I think that Quad got emotional. What you're trying to say is Quad got emotional and she got upset. And King's like, yeah, because there's trauma there. So she's going to react. You know, there are triggers. So Dr. G then gets up out of his chair as he's saying, if I had known you, I promise you, you can ask any of the guys, I would have addressed you. And I hope that, you know, you're willing to stand up for her. You know, I would hope that you were willing to do that. If I had known you, sir, whether you know him or not, you were disrespectful to Quad. Whether Quad knew Tisha or not, she was disrespectful to you. Y'all were all messed up. I also need you to get out this man's face, because why are you walking up on him to say all of that? He says, definitely, as long as you know that, we're good. All right. Now, this is where I take issue with King. Because I get that you said you didn't want to have this conversation around all the men, but this would have been a time for you to pull him to the side and talk about it further if you didn't want to have it in front of the men. This would have been the time for you to stand up for your woman. I like that King stands up for Quad, but I don't think the way that he handled the situation was right. So Phaedra is on the beach, and Phaedra is taking grown and sexy pictures with her man. Like, he's lifting her up, and he got little cheeks are in the air, and he picks her up. She's straddling. She's like, oh, and I'm not mad at it. I mean, I need to go to the gym. Let me go carry my tail back to the gym so I get picked up like that. So the ladies are watching because they give it a nice little show, right? And the ladies are talking about we see her man, da-da-da-da. And Shireen is over there like, that's not her man. Stop saying that's her man, because that's not her man. Check dates everybody in Atlanta. He's everybody's man. So the ladies are like, oh, he's for the streets. Shireen, why do you sound jealous? This is when she's like, you know, Chet is family. He comes over for the holidays. He comes over for Thanksgiving and da-da-da-da. And so Chet comes over there and Toya's like, how do you know Shireen? And he says, that's nobody's business here. And they're asking question after question, claiming that they're trying to get to know him. But if you're trying to get to know him, then you don't need to ask him questions that involve Shireen or Apollo. So Phaedra's like, this is supposed to be a circle of friends for me. I'm supposed to be bringing myself into this group along with this man with me. You should be cordial or nice or whatever to us. You shouldn't be ambushing me with the person that I used to be with. She was like, so when you hear me say those type of itches, that's why I say those type of itches. I said, Phaedra, I wish you would have said that to their face rather than in the confessional, because I get it. You feel away, but you too have done some things. She's right. I'm not going to sit there and say she's not right, but you've done this to yourself. So Apollo is talking about how, you know, you told me that you know, were going on a speed date. And he's like, I told you that I matched up with Phaedra. He was like, yeah, but I thought that was it. And he was like, no, I told you. So once again, Apollo was lying. Phaedra's like, what does it matter, Apollo? We aren't married. I'm not married to you, and I don't blame you. What do you care about who I date? And then Shireen chimes in, yeah, he don't give an F. He don't give an F about you. He don't give an F about you, and he don't care about who you date. Girl, I can't tell that he doesn't care about her. You're bothered because it's obvious that he does. So then she says, Apollo, I told you that Faye, and Phaedra's like, my name ain't Faye, you bad built itch. I said, Shireen, she deserved that smoke. Because you getting involved with this when you don't even normally talk to this lady, and then you gonna try to be funny by calling her Faye, which implies that you probably sit around the house talking all types of buku mess about her. Meanwhile, she can't stand you. And me personally, I feel that she has every right not to, because you're sitting here coming in her space, coming on the show that she's currently on, to sit here and cause division and confusion. And whether Heavenly was being messy or not, so were you two. So Simone is in confessionals. Simone is me for the rest of this thing. I don't eat popcorn, but if I did, this is what I would be doing. Because Simone is like, look, watching this is messy. It's like watching, an episode of Jerry Springer, and it is. So Chet sees that Phaedra and Shireen are going back and forth, and he pulls her away. He's like, we ain't come here for this. That's not we come here. I do like the fact that he pulled her away, right? I do like that she followed him and she didn't keep going back and forth with the girl. So Tisha's like, who invited you? Who invited you? So Shireen says, Heavenly did. Tisha says, why did you invite them? Heavenly says, it's none of your effing business. Don't ask me ish. I said, here we go. Don't ask me any questions. All Heavenly had to say was, I invited Apollo. Phaedra was aware he was coming. I was unaware that his wife was coming. And that was that. But because Heavenly don't like Tisha, she gonna say what she says, and it's gonna create a whole thing. Because Tisha then gets upset, starts calling her all types of big backs and gorillas and shaving with this and a whole bunch of things I didn't care to write down. And she's like, I feel like I should be able to ask a question because Phaedra's my friend, and Heavenly could ask a question about Dr. Jackie. So if I should be able to ask a question about, Phaedra, she's right. She's right. You can't get upset with her. If the roles were reversed, you would have done the same thing. You have done the same thing. We've seen you go to Jack for back. See you go to bat for Jackie. We saw you do it with Simone on multiple times. That's one of the reasons why you and Simone won't get along. Like, it's what you do, Heavenly. So you can't sit there and go off on her like that, even though it was really none of her business, because she's doing the very thing that you do. So they're going back and forth, calling each other's names. Heavenly right here, this is when she tried to get up. The girl fell back. Like, it was funny. I hope her phone didn't get messed up because the phone went down in the water too, and she got help getting back up so she could fuss. So Heavenly gets up to run up on Sweetie. It's chaotic. Quad is screaming, Letitia! Letitia! Listen to your husband! Listen to your husband! Dr. G has her in his arms, right? First, his arm was kind of around her neck, kind of pulling her away, but it wasn't like wrapped around her neck. Like, it was like how, if you put your arm around somebody's shoulder and it kind of slides down, it was like that. Then he got behind her like that. And she's like, no, I'm tired. She's always popping off. I'm sick of her always popping off. And T wants to know why she set this up, why Heavenly would do this. And you got Simone saying T is out of control. So is Heavenly. Y'all seem to like let that go, because Heavenly didn't have to answer the question like this. Now here's my other problem, right? You see what this thing looks like. You see the image that I got on the screen. You see G is right there holding his wife. I think that's Eugene standing in front of him. Yeah. You got Scott, Mimi's husband, standing behind Greg. You got King in the orange swim trunks standing there watching, right? Your wife is not over there. Oh, that's right. You don't have a wife. My bad. Your girl, I didn't mean that. It's not over there. Your girl is behind there. Quad is over there in front of Heavenly. Right? So y'all are going back and forth. You, Heavenly, can't speak to people the way that you do and think it's going to be okay. Tisha, you can't call people all types of B's and think it's okay. Y'all are a lot alike. So for whatever reason, King decides that this would be a good time to approach G. While G is sitting here trying to calm down his wife. Let me add, while we're talking about this, that G holding his wife like this at this point was just making her more frustrated, because she was calm. She just wanted him to let go. When a woman says let go, let go. Stop holding on to her. You see how Eugene is standing there with his arms open? He got a cigar in the left and his hand just hold it up like it's all right, calm down on the right. That's how you should have been at that point, because Heavenly is over there standing with her hands on her hips. Her husband is behind her. So what are we doing here? What exactly are we doing here? As I said, King comes over. while all this chaos is happening, and feels like this is the best opportunity to talk to him while he's away from the guys. No, it's not. I was with him up until this point because you should have let this go, or you should address this. If you wanted to check him, you should have checked him earlier when he first told you what he said and you realized what he said. But you want to do it now. So he tells him, he'll let last night slide. I'll let last night slide. Don't speak to her no more. So G says, well, tell her to stop, saying ish to me, that he says. He's like, no, she can say whatever the F she wants to say. I said, okay, he's really hot. What happened that got you so hot in this moment? Because you didn't have to come over here with that heat, King. I like you, but you didn't have to do that. G's like, not to me. Like, not to me. Quad doesn't need to say anything to G either. Neither one of them need to say anything to each other. This wasn't supposed to be that long. So he makes no sense. Tisha is watching the guys. Phaedra is like, don't worry, Chet isn't going to let nothing pop off. King tells G, I know about the past, meaning she's told me the things that you've done to her. She's told me the alleged abusive things that you've done. G's like, her side. King's like, all right, then tell me something new. Tell me something different. So G says, you gonna find out. You gonna find out. And King says, you're gonna find out. Now, you can tell him you gonna find out, and I guess try to act like he's gonna find out who Quad is. But when he says it to you, you try to say that he is making vile threats. So you can say it, but he can't say it. Okay, Dr. G, you got a double standard there. So Dr. G is talking about him being a doctor and how he doesn't need people sending veiled threats. And King says, I'm not making threats. So then Dr. G goes to, I hope you sweep her off her feet. And he's getting loud. I said, oh, G is bothered. G is real bothered. And you're making a scene intentionally because it didn't have to get to this point. You could have walked off and been the bigger man like you say you are because King was in the wrong. So Chet comes over, right? Was it Chet? Yeah. Cecil's walking towards them. And because he sees the other men around him, in my opinion, he gets even louder. I said, okay, first I was on Dr. G's side. Now I feel myself leaning towards King. Because why you getting so loud? He then starts moving his hand and says, I figured you was like that because I know how your girl is, as he's backing off, waving his hand, looking at him. I said, okay, so you just talked about his girl another time, and this time you did it for him to hear you. Okay, I'm not surprised that he's about to come after you. Is it right? No, but I'm not surprised. So King is taking off his shirt because he's ready to whoop tail. Quad is running, T is running, and King is charging. And that's how this scene ends. Y'all tell me what you thought of this episode. Sorry this was so long. Didn't mean to make it so long. Hopefully you enjoy it. Like the video as it helps the channel. Until next time. Oh, you might need to see me, huh? I promise I'm going to get the hang of this.